So many rugby players are still stuck in the same gym routines that are designed for people who want to put on a thong, get a massive spray tan, and then flex their muscles to show. You see, that is not you. If you're training chest one day, back the next, chasing a pump, and just doing sort of general weight room work, you're not really training like a rugby player. You're training like a bodybuilder. And to be clear, even if you're training full body weight sessions, you still might just be training like a bodybuilder, because most fitness routines sort of do stem from bodybuilding, since that is what gym culture has been about for the longest time. And to be honest, using weights to look good is still probably the most common reason that people go to gyms, and that is fine for most people. But if you're stepping onto a rugby pitch, even if you do also want to look better, it's time to get real about your training. So let's do that today. I'm TJ, I'm the guy behind Rugby Muscle. Rugby Muscle is dedicated to reshaping the way amateur athletes approach their strength and conditioning. And if you're serious about becoming a better rugby athlete and haven't done so already, be sure to hit subscribe. Drop this show a 5-star rating on Spotify. A quick review really does help. And let me know which of these 5 points really do hit you the most in the comments, either below on YouTube or hit the 3 dots and drop us a comment on Spotify. So here we go. Reason number 1 is that there's more to being a rugby player than just getting bigger. Yes, in order to play your best rugby, you're going to need to be big and strong. That doesn't change. But bodybuilding and the way most people approach their training completely flips that focus the wrong way. If you do things right, you will build muscle, but that is a byproduct of the training that you'll be doing as a smart rugby athlete, utilizing heavy weights and resistance to get stronger in the areas you need, as well as fueling properly. But rugby isn't a physique show. You don't get points for having the most shredded abs or biggest delts or looking the best in your tight rugby gear. What you need is to move with strength, stay durable during collisions, to deliver power, not just to look thick in a mirror selfie. So if you're focusing your training just around muscle growth exclusively, especially the mirror muscles as the main goal, you're missing the bigger picture of what is needed to be a rugby athlete. Big biceps can help rugby, I won't debate you on that, but so does a thick upper back and neck, a real strong core, and a powerful posterior chain. Really, it's a mindset shift that you have to make. Size is a result of your training, not the target. Now, for reason number 2, we're going to actually flip that mindset shift when it comes to cardio or conditioning. You see, for rugby, conditioning is not optional, it's foundational. You see, a bodybuilder does cardio in order to get lean, usually by walking on the stepper with a hoodie on, just trying to burn calories. You'll hear people say that you don't even need to do any cardio in order to lose fat and get really lean. And to be honest, that's absolutely true. But you, as a rugby player, you need to perform for 80 minutes. And conditioning is going to be what builds that fuel tank. And if it's tiny, it doesn't matter how strong or powerful or fast you are, you're going to be useless after 30 minutes. That mindset shift here is understanding the name cardio. Cardio-respiratory training, training your heart and your lungs to get energy around the body so that you can really be relentless on the pitch. And look, I've already gone deep on how to get fit properly in other episodes, so I'm not going to do that here, but just understand that conditioning is not a byproduct of burning calories. It's equally as important as strength, and if you neglect it, the pitch will expose that. Moving on to reason number 3 as to why you don't want to be training like a bodybuilder for rugby is that your muscles need to do way more than sort of just contract, right? In bodybuilding, the goal is simple. Contract the muscle hard and often so that it grows, right? You squeeze the biceps, you stretch and contract the pecs, you grow the muscle. In rugby, your muscles are needed to do way more than just sort of contract and grow. They need to actually perform on the pitch. So you need to train them to exert maximum possible force, like with heavy lifting. Exert force, even a heavy force or a light force, as fast as possible. So think about your explosive movements. You need to train them to work together in coordinated chains. Think like sprinting, stepping, tackling, passing, anything where you're coordinating the movement of several different muscles at the same time. And then you also need to train your muscles to switch on instantly to absorb, resist, and then repel forces. So like stopping on a dime or bracing for contact. These are things that you can train for and need to train for in the gym. It's not about isolated tension. It's about integrated performance. This means that your training needs to include heavy lifts and explosive work like jumps, throws, plyometrics, sprints. You need to develop your rate of force development. So how quickly you can turn on strength and how stiff your tendons can be, particularly within your lower body, so that you can sprint really well. This is what creates power that you're going to see on the pitch. So if you're just doing sort of slow eccentrics, getting a pump, cable flies, thinking about mind muscle connection only with your training, you're not training for sport, you're sort of just training for flexing. Right? Start training your body to move and react like the high performance machine that rugby demands. And real quick, if you want to make sure that you are meeting all of these demands for rugby with your training, Rugby Muscle is absolutely here to help, whether that's through the program in our app with Team Rugby Muscle, where we have templates for in-season, off-season, all different schedules and rugby performance goals, or if it's via AAA one-on-one coaching where we work directly with you as an athlete. We program for athletes in the real world. You'll build strength, power, fitness, and actually feel the difference on the pitch without sacrificing hours and hours and hours hoping to get it right. And I'll put the links for all the different ways that you can work with Rugby Muscle in the show notes. Now, reason number 4 to not train like a bodybuilder is that you've got to account for the fatigue from everything else. Here's what bodybuilders don't have to deal with, right? Games every weekend, midweek training sessions, sprint work, conditioning blocks, or even a job or other life stresses where you have to re-engineer your schedule so that you're performing at your best come game day or the training sessions that matter. You see, if you're hammering a big leg day with heavy hack squats, RDLs and walking lunges for 90 minutes on a Thursday, how the hell are you supposed to sprint well or play well on a Saturday? If you do that on a Monday, like most people will generally shift their harder training sessions to, how well can you do at rugby training on a Tuesday when the session is really important? Fatigue within muscles might not matter as much when those muscles get a total rest, but when you're in the gym for rugby, you have to view your training as part of the bigger picture. Every session has a cost, and rugby athletes have way more variables to manage than just muscle soreness. Within Rugby Muscle, many of our athletes actually only train 2 times a week in the gym, sometimes even less, and they'll still make massive progress. Bodybuilders have made it so that their lives have to revolve around the gym and expect others to do so as a default in order to just grow muscle, when actually that's a really simple thing to do. And it's really not necessary to be in the gym for that long. That's definitely not the best way to train when you have all of the other considerations that you do as a rugby athlete. So really, stop copying plans that have been made for people who live in the gym and their sole focus is just to grow muscle. And then finally, reason number 5, and to be honest, this is probably the real one, the best reason to train like a rugby athlete, not a bodybuilder, is that it's way more fun and rewarding to be an athlete within your training. Right? Once you've been lifting for a few years, making gains gets tough. And quite frankly, it gets boring. Chasing a few extra millimeters of bicep growth isn't really a thrilling thing to do, and it's not a good way to have a long-term sustainable training practice. But when you train like an athlete, when you're tracking your lifts and your jumps, you're seeing yourself move better, you're feeling your conditioning carry you through a full game with ease, this stuff really gets exciting. You get to see yourself get better in so many different areas continually, or at least one of those 5 specific areas of rugby strength and conditioning, like quite regularly. And that causes you to stay way more consistent, you stay way more motivated, because now you're not just sculpting a body, you're building a weapon. And that's the best part of rugby strength and conditioning and why I love my job. Rugby as a sport forces you to push the boundaries in every single direction. Size, strength, speed, power, fitness, all different types of fitness, and all different types of movement. And that's not just more effective for the pitch, it's actually more fulfilling. And I think that's why I have a decent percentage of people who follow Rugby Muscle, even though they don't even play. I regularly get people messaging me that don't ever have ambitions of playing rugby, but they like the training style, they like the athletes that rugby forces you to produce. Remember, your body isn't just a piece of art to look at. It's a piece of engineering art, I guess, that can do so many different things. And when you feel more and more capable, it really does make your training special. And as a rugby athlete, you also get to test that in the most fun way possible by playing rugby. It's amazing. So I hope this episode did help you. I hope it gave you a mindset shift or some tools and some ideas that you can take away and implement in your own training. If it did, please hit the thumbs up and drop a comment. And if you're interested in develop this further and cutting out the guesswork, check out all of the links in the description how you can work with Rugby Muscle. Thank you guys so much for watching. Remember, you don't need to look like a rugby player. You need to be one. Train like it.